The Silent Vanguard. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Alliance buzzed with the usual political chatter as representatives from over 200 stellar nations gathered for their monthly assembly. Towering crystalline windows revealed the jeweled sprawl of Nexus Prime, the Alliance capital that had grown prosperous during 3 centuries of relative peace. High Chancellor Vorketh, a statuesque Altarian with gleaming silver skin, tapped his ceremonial staff against the marble floor, bringing the session to order. The trade dispute between the Centauri Confederation and the Rigel Protectorate shall be addressed in committee, he announced, his melodic voice carrying effortlessly through the chamber. Now we turn to reports from the Frontier Monitoring Court. A holographic display materialized in the center of the hall, showing the spiral arms of the galaxy with pulsing indicators marking Alliance territory. What had once been a small coalition now spanned nearly a third of the galaxy, an unprecedented era of cooperation and expansion. Admiral Philera stepped forward, her 4 arms folded formally across her chest in the traditional Zeraxian posture of duty. Honored representatives, our quarterly survey shows continued stability along all major frontiers. The only anomaly worth noting is increased energy readings from Sector 47 Alpha. At this, a low murmur rippled through the assembly. Even those unfamiliar with military designations recognized the significance. Sector 47 Alpha, the quarantine zone containing what remained of Earth and its solar system. The humans, asked a representative from Procyon, their bioluminescent features dimming with concern. I thought they were extinct. Chancellor Vorketh waved a dismissive hand. Nearly so. As you all know from historical records, the humans destroyed themselves in their petty wars 3 centuries ago. Our scientific observers documented the devastation. What little remained of their civilization was deemed too primitive to warrant inclusion in the Alliance. Then what explains these readings? Pressed Admiral Philera. Solar flares, asteroid impacts, natural phenomena, the Chancellor replied with absolute certainty. Let us not waste time on a dead species that never achieved true spacefaring status. Their system remains under observation as protocol demands, nothing more. The discussion moved on to more pressing matters: resource allocations, colonization rights, judicial appointments. No one noticed the junior communications officer who entered discreetly and handed Admiral Philera a sealed data crystal. No one but Commander Ezra Venn. From her position in the diplomatic security detail, Ezra observed the subtle change in the Admiral's posture, the slight stiffening of her spine, the unconscious flexing of her secondary digits. Something significant had happened. When the session concluded 3 hours later, Ezra wasn't surprised to receive a priority summons to the Admiralty's private chambers. Commander Venn, Admiral Philera acknowledged as Ezra entered the secure room. Your record indicates extensive cross-species cultural training and xenoanthropology expertise. Yes, Admiral. Before joining diplomatic security, I spent 15 years with the Contact Division. Good, because I need someone who understands the improbable. The Admiral activated a privacy field around them before continuing. What do you know about humans? Ezra considered her response carefully. Beyond the standard historical briefings, I studied the recovered literature extensively. Fascinating species, remarkably adaptable, prone to both extraordinary creativity and self-destruction. And what would you say if I told you they might not be as extinct as we've been led to believe? The Admiral pushed a data pad across the table. Ezra examined the contents: signal intercepts, energy signatures, and surveillance footage from a remote monitoring station. The footage showed a sleek vessel of unfamiliar design, materializing from what appeared to be a fold in space itself, lingering near the station for precisely 47 seconds, then vanishing in the same impossible manner. This station is at the edge of Sector 47 Alpha. Admiral Philera explained. The ship matches no known configuration in our database, but its energy signature contains trace elements consistent with pre-collapse human technology, refined and evolved beyond anything we projected possible. If humans survived and developed this level of technology, Exactly. The implications are concerning, particularly since the Council has maintained for centuries that humanity was functionally extinct. What would you have me do, Admiral? Take command of the exploration vessel Horizon's Eye. Your mission is officially a routine survey of abandoned mining stations in the sector. Unofficially, you're to investigate these signals and determine if humanity has indeed returned, and if so, what their intentions might be. 3 weeks later, Commander Ezra Venn stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Eye as it approached the outer boundary of Sector 47 Alpha. Her mixed-species crew had been handpicked for adaptability and discretion. They didn't know the true nature of their mission, but they were professionals who asked few questions. Approaching sensor range of monitoring station Epsilon 12, reported Lieutenant Krav, his reptilian features impassive as he manipulated the navigation controls. Minimal power signatures detected. Maintain course. Azara ordered. Science Officer Neri, prepare for full spectrum analysis. Neri, a slender Silurian with translucent skin that revealed the complex network of neural pathways beneath, nodded. Scanning parameters established, Commander. As they drew closer to the automated station, Azara felt an inexplicable tension building at the base of her skull, an instinctive warning that had saved her life on more than one occasion. Lieutenant, bring us to full alert status. Quietly. Commander, Krav questioned, but his clawed hands were already moving to comply. Just a precaution, she assured him, though her eyes remained fixed on the view screen. The monitoring station appeared intact as they approached, its solar panels extended like metallic wings against the backdrop of distant stars. Nothing seemed amiss, yet the warning sensation intensified. Commander, Neri called, her voice unnaturally calm. I'm detecting a quantum displacement field approximately 3,000 kilometers to starboard. It wasn't there a moment ago. Before Azara could respond, the emptiness of space fractured. There was no other way to describe it. A perfect seam appeared in the void, edges glowing with blue-white energy, and through it emerged a vessel unlike anything in Alliance records. It was beautiful in its deadliness, sleek and predatory, its hull composed of interlocking plates that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. No visible weapons, no conventional engine ports, yet it radiated power and purpose. All stop, Azara ordered quietly. No aggressive posture, open standard greeting channels, all known frequencies. For long moments, nothing happened. The alien ship, the human ship, if the Admiral's suspicions were correct, hung motionless in space, studying them just as they studied it. Then their communication system activated without any input from the crew. Alliance vessel Horizon's Eye, came a voice, speaking perfect galactic standard with only the slightest accent. This is the Earth Ship Reclamation. You have entered restricted space. State your purpose. Azara stepped forward. This is Commander Ezra Venn. We are on a routine survey mission. We were unaware this sector had been claimed by any sovereign power. A pause, then. Your historical records state otherwise, Commander. This sector has been human territory for over 4 centuries. Your presence here violates the terms of the Isolation Accord of 2387. Isolation Accord. Azara had never heard of such a treaty. She glanced at her communications officer, who shook his head in equal confusion. I apologize, but our records contain no reference to this accord. Perhaps we could discuss this misunderstanding directly. We come with peaceful intent. Another pause, longer this time. Very well. Prepare to receive a diplomatic shuttle. Any aggressive action will be met with immediate response. The communication ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Commander, Krav whispered, what is this isolation accord they mentioned? I don't know, Azara admitted, but I intend to find out. The diplomatic shuttle that docked with the Horizon's Eye an hour later was a marvel of engineering. No visible thrusters, yet it maneuvered with precision that made their own technology seem crude by comparison. The delegation that emerged consisted of 3 humans, 2 males and 1 female, all wearing form-fitting uniforms of deep blue with silver insignia. Commander Ven, the apparent leader, greeted her. He was tall and lean, with dark skin and penetrating eyes that seemed to evaluate everything simultaneously. I am Diplomatic Envoy Taein Chen. These are my colleagues, Security Specialist Reed, and Cultural Liaison Dr. Morgan. Welcome aboard, Azara responded, acutely aware that she was likely the first Alliance citizen to speak directly with a human in centuries. This is my executive officer, Lieutenant Krav, and Science Officer Neri. The humans nodded politely, showing no surprise or disgust at the alien appearances of her crew. Remarkable, given their supposed isolation. We have prepared a conference room, she continued, gesturing toward the corridor. Perhaps we could speak there. Of course, Chen agreed. As they walked, he added conversationally, your ship's design is interesting. Altarian influence in the propulsion systems, but Xeraxian elements in the whole configuration. The Alliance has evolved since our last official contact. The casual observation revealed more than Chen perhaps intended. These humans have been watching the Alliance, studying them, while the Alliance believed humans extinct. In the conference room, once formalities were observed and refreshments provided, which the humans politely declined, Azara addressed the central mystery. Envoy Chen, you mentioned an isolation accord that our records don't contain. I would appreciate any clarification you can provide. Chen exchanged glances with Dr. Morgan, who nodded slightly. The fact that you don't know about it is precisely the point, Commander. Following what you call the Earth collapse, the early Alliance leadership made a decision. Rather than integrating what remained of humanity into the galactic community, they established a quarantine zone and signed a non-interference treaty with our surviving leadership. Why would they do this? And why would this be purged from official records? Two excellent questions with the same answer, Chen replied. Fear. Dr. Morgan, a woman with auburn hair and calculating eyes, continued the explanation. Your ancestors feared human potential. Even as our civilization appeared to collapse, certain elements within your leadership recognized a particular human trait. We learned from our failures, adapt, and emerge stronger. They predicted that if left alone, we might develop along technological paths that would eventually threaten Alliance supremacy. So they made a deal with our remaining leaders, Chen added. Leave us alone, let the galaxy believe we destroyed ourselves, and we would remain within our solar system, focusing on rebuilding rather than expansion. For 300 years, Azara said slowly, we've believed humans were a failed species, barely surviving on a ravaged planet. Yet here you are with technology that appears to surpass our own. Necessity breeds innovation. Commander, Security Specialist Reed spoke for the first time, his voice carrying an edge of steel. When you can't expand outward, you look inward. When resources are limited, you become efficient. When threats loom, you develop defenses. And now, Azara asked, sensing they were approaching the true purpose of this encounter. Chen's expression hardened almost imperceptibly. Now the accord has been broken, not by us, but by elements within your alliance. We've detected unauthorized probes entering our system, research vessels taking samples from our outer planets, and most concerning, military scouts mapping strategic approach vectors. That's impossible, Azara protested. Such missions would require Admiralty approval at minimum, more likely Council authorization. Yet it has happened, Chen countered, sliding a data crystal across the table. All the evidence is there, gathered over the past 5 years. We've been patient, hoping for diplomatic resolution. Instead, these incursions have increased. As Azara processed this disturbing information, a priority alert chimed from her communicator. Excuse me, she said, stepping away to answer. Lieutenant Krav's voice came through, tense and controlled. Commander, we're receiving distress signals from multiple Alliance outposts across the sector border. They report unknown vessels appearing through spatial anomalies. Several stations have gone dark completely. Chen and his colleagues showed no surprise at this news. Clearly, they had expected it. You knew this was happening. Azar accused, returning to the table. What are your people doing? Not my people, Commander, Chen corrected. We are here to prevent conflict, not instigate it. But there are factions among humanity who believe the time for talking is past. They've observed your military buildup along the sector boundaries and drawn their own conclusions. What military buildup? This is the first Alliance vessel to approach this sector in years. Chen's expression registered genuine surprise for the first time. If that's true, Commander, then someone has been operating a shadow fleet bearing Alliance signatures. Because we've documented dozens of military-grade vessels moving into position around our territory over the past month alone. The implications hit Izara like a physical blow. Either the Alliance leadership had been lying to its own officers and citizens while preparing for war against humanity, or someone was deliberately manufacturing the conditions for conflict between humanity and the Alliance. Before she could voice these thoughts, the ship's general alarm activated. Neri's voice came over the comm system, high and strained. Commander, multiple vessels just emerged from quantum folds. Alliance military configurations, but they're not responding to identification requests. They're charging weapons. It seems, Chen said grimly, that someone has decided to force our hands. The question is, Commander Ven, when shots are fired, which side will you be on? Izora looked from Chen to her communications panel and back, realizing that the fate of two civilizations might hinge on her next decision. Outside the viewport, the first energy weapons flared against the darkness of space. The reckoning. The bridge of the horizon's eye erupted into chaos as the first salvos from the unidentified Alliance vessels streaked across space. To Izara's astonishment, the energy blasts never reached their targets. Instead, they seemed to fold inward upon themselves, disappearing into tiny points of brilliant light before vanishing completely. Gravitational inversion fields, explained Chen, remarkably calm as he observed the tactical display. We learned to redirect energy rather than merely absorb it. Security Specialist Reed pressed his hand to his ear, listening to a private communication. The reclamation is engaging defensive protocols only. Captain Marcus has ordered no retaliatory fire unless directly authorized by command. Another barrage of weapons fire erupted from the Alliance vessels, a coordinated attack pattern that would have overwhelmed standard defenses. Once again, the energy discharges collapsed harmlessly into points of light. Commander, Chen said urgently, you need to contact those ships. They may not be responding to standard Alliance protocols, but they might acknowledge a direct officer-to-officer communication. If they continue escalating, our defensive systems will automatically shift to counterattack mode. Izara nodded grimly and opened a direct channel. This is Commander Izara Ven of the Alliance vessel, Horizon's Eye to unidentified Alliance ships. Cease fire immediately. You are endangering a diplomatic mission and violating interspecies protocols. Identify yourselves and state your purpose in this sector. The response came as a visual transmission. A stern-faced Altarian officer whose insignia marked him as a fleet commander, a rank significantly higher than Azara's own. Commander Ven, this is Fleet Commander Dravkarn. Your vessel has been compromised by human infiltrators. Stand down and prepare to be evacuated. We will neutralize the human threat. Izara's mind raced. The insignia was correct. The authentication codes embedded in the transmission appeared valid, yet something felt profoundly wrong. Fleet Commander Dravkarn should not have been operating in this sector without Admiralty notification, and the aggressive stance against a species supposedly conducting diplomatic talks was a severe violation of Alliance principles. Fleet Commander, I must respectfully demand clarification, she replied, maintaining a crisp official tone. My mission was authorized by Admiral Thilura personally. The humans aboard my vessel are invited diplomatic representatives. Your attack constitutes an act of war against a potentially peaceful species. The Altarian's silver face hardened. Your orders have been superseded by strategic command. The human vessels represent an existential threat to Alliance security. The diplomatic charade was merely a distraction while we positioned our forces. Stand down immediately, Commander. That is a direct order. Chen stepped forward, deliberately placing himself within view of the transmission. Fleet Commander Dravkarn, this is Diplomatic Envoy Tayan Chen of Earth. We have documented evidence of Alliance violations of the Isolation Accord. We came seeking peaceful resolution. Your actions now will determine whether that remains possible. Humans. Dravkarn spat, his elegant features contorting with unexpected hatred, always believing you deserve a voice in matters beyond your comprehension. Your species was contained for good reason. Your potential for violence, your unpredictability. The galaxy has prospered without human chaos for centuries. We should have eliminated your threat entirely when we had the chance. The naked hostility in Dravkarn's voice shocked Izara. This wasn't the measured diplomatic language of the Alliance she had sworn to serve. This was something else entirely, something older and darker. Commander Ven, Lieutenant Krav called urgently from his station. I've analyzed the transmission source. These aren't regular Alliance vessels. They're registered to the Sentinel Division. Izara felt a chill run through her. The Sentinel Division was a semi-mythical branch of Alliance security, operating outside normal command structures and answerable only to the highest levels of leadership. Most officers believed they were simply an exaggerated bogeyman used to explain covert operations. 30 seconds until their weapons recycle, Reed noted calmly. Our defensive systems will transition to active countermeasures at that point. Izara made her decision. Fleet Commander, I am invoking Article 12 of the Alliance Charter, the right to question potentially illegal orders. Your attack on diplomatic representatives without Council authorization violates core Alliance principles. I demand immediate cessation of hostilities pending review by a neutral third party. Dravkarn's expression shifted from anger to something approaching amusement. Articles and principles. How predictably naive. The Alliance exists because we keep it safe from threats like humanity. Stand down or be considered an enemy combatant. The transmission cut off abruptly. Commander, Chen said quietly, my shuttle can return to the reclamation before the next attack wave. This isn't your fight. It became my fight the moment Alliance vessels fired without provocation. Ezra replied, turning to her communications officer. Send emergency transmission to Admiral Thilara. Maximum encryption. Include all logs of this encounter. She turned back to Chen. I need to know what we're facing. What exactly is humanity capable of if this escalates? Before Chen could answer, the tactical display erupted with new signals as a second wave of vessels emerged from quantum folds. These were unlike anything Azara had seen before. Massive ships with flowing, almost organic lines, their hulls rippling with subtle energy patterns. The Earth Defense Fleet, Dr. Morgan explained, her voice tinged with both pride and regret. Led by the Prometheus, under the command of Captain Marcus Chen. Any relation? Azar asked, glancing at Tayan Chen. My brother, he acknowledged. Our family has served in Earth's defenses for 3 generations. A new communication signal chimed, and the main view screen filled with the image of a man who shared Tayan's features, but carried himself with the unmistakable authority of a seasoned commander. This is Captain Marcus Chen of the Earth vessel Prometheus to all Alliance ships. You have committed acts of aggression against peaceful diplomatic representatives and violated sovereign human space. Stand down immediately and withdraw beyond the boundary markers, or we will respond with proportional force. Izara stepped forward, ensuring she was visible in the return transmission. Captain Chen, I am Commander Izara Ven of the Alliance vessel Horizon's Eye. The ships attacking your vessels are operating outside standard Alliance protocols. I believe they are part of a rogue element within our military structure. Marcus Chen's eyes narrowed slightly as he assessed her. Commander Ven, my brother informs me you've shown unexpected integrity in a difficult situation. I'm inclined to give you the benefit of doubt. What do you propose? Before Izara could respond, The Sentinel vessels launched another coordinated attack, this time targeting not just the human ships but the Horizon's Eye as well. Evasive maneuvers, Azara ordered, but the deck was already shuddering beneath her feet as multiple impacts struck their shields. Unlike the human vessels, the Horizon's Eye lacked advanced defensive technology. Their shields would fail within minutes under sustained assault. On the view screen, Captain Marcus Chen's expression hardened as he watched the attack unfold. Defensive positions only, he commanded someone off-screen. Target weapon systems and propulsion. No crew casualties if it can be avoided. The human fleet moved with astonishing coordination, their ships flowing like water around the more rigid Alliance formations. Where the Alliance vessels relied on brute force and overwhelming firepower, the human ships demonstrated a devastating elegance, neutralizing threats with surgical precision. On the tactical display, Azara watched as human vessels systematically disabled the Sentinel fleet's weapons without destroying a single ship. It was a masterclass in military restraint and a terrifying demonstration of technological superiority. They're not even using their full capabilities, Security Specialist Reed commented quietly. This is a demonstration, not a battle. The skirmish ended almost as quickly as it had begun. Within 20 minutes, every Sentinel vessel hung powerless in space, their weapons and propulsion systems offline, their communications limited to short-range emergency frequencies. Captain Marcus Chen's image returned to the view screen. Commander Ven, it seems we have a mutual problem. Elements within your alliance are determined to provoke a conflict with Earth. The question is why, and how far up the chain of command this conspiracy extends. I intend to find out, Azara promised, though uncertainty gnawed at her. If the Sentinel Division was involved, the corruption might reach to the highest levels of Alliance leadership. My brother speaks highly of your commitment to truth, Marcus continued. I'm extending an invitation few outsiders have received. Join me aboard the Prometheus. There are things you need to see. Truths about the relationship between humanity and the Alliance that have been buried for centuries. 6 hours later, Azara stood in the observation dome of the Earth flagship Prometheus, staring at holographic records that rewrote everything she thought she knew about Alliance history. The official records claim Earth destroyed itself through internal conflict, Captain Marcus explained, standing beside her as images of ancient battles played out in the air between them. The truth is more complicated. Earth was intentionally destabilized. The holographic display shifted to show diplomatic records dating back over 3 centuries, covered operations authorized by the early Alliance leadership, designed to exacerbate human conflicts, contaminate resources, and sabotage peace efforts. But why? Azara asked, struggling to reconcile these documents with her understanding of Alliance principles. Humanity posed no threat to the early Alliance. You had barely established colonies beyond your own moon. That's where you're wrong, Dr. Morgan interjected, joining them in the dome. What terrified the early Alliance leaders wasn't what humanity had accomplished, but what we might become. She gestured, and the display changed to show comparative development trajectories, technological advancement rates for various species. Most species follow predictable technological paths, she explained. Centuries of incremental progress with occasional breakthroughs. Humanity's pattern was different, exponential in ways that defied conventional models. Our adaptability, creativity, and stubborn refusal to accept limitations meant we might have leapfrogged centuries of development in mere decades. The Alliance founders saw this potential and decided containment was safer than partnership. Captain Marcus continued the narrative. They expected the collapse they engineered to reduce us to a pre-industrial state. Instead, we unified. The remnants of our global nations came together, pooling resources, knowledge, and determination. We rebuilt in secret, developing technologies along paths the Alliance never explored because they seemed too theoretical, too risky. Like your quantum-fold propulsion, Azara observed. Among other things, Marcus acknowledged with a slight smile. We've had 300 years to focus exclusively on advancement rather than expansion. When you can't grow outward, you grow inward. But if you've known about the Alliance's betrayal all this time, why not seek justice sooner? Why maintain the isolation? The captain's expression grew solemn. Because revenge is easy, Commander. Peace is harder. Each generation debated whether to reveal ourselves, whether to demand accountability. Each time, we chose patience, to build, to learn, to prepare. Not for war, but for the day we could rejoin galactic society from a position of strength that would prevent history from repeating. What changed? Izara asked, though she suspected the answer. Two things, Marcus replied. First, we detected increasing incursions into our space. Probes, then scout ships, finally military vessels. Second, our long-range observers documented a disturbing pattern of behavior toward other emerging species, subtle manipulations similar to what was done to Earth, orchestrated by something called the Sentinel Division. Izara's blood ran cold. You believe there's a systematic effort within the Alliance to suppress species with high development potential. The evidence suggests exactly that, Dr. Morgan confirmed. A faction within your leadership has been playing God for centuries, deciding which species deserves to advance and which must be contained. Earth was simply their first major success. Izara thought of her homeworld, a modest colony that had joined the Alliance generations ago. How many other worlds had their destinies altered by unseen hands? How many species had been denied their full potential because they developed too quickly or in unpredictable ways? The Sentinel Division ships will have triggered alerts throughout Alliance space, she said after a long moment of reflection. More forces will come, believing they're responding to human aggression. We're counting on it, Captain Marcus replied with unexpected calm. Because this time, the truth won't remain hidden. He gestured again, and the holographic display shifted to show dozens of small objects dispersing from Earth ships throughout Alliance territory. We call them truth drones, he explained. Quantum-linked communication relays capable of bypassing standard censorship protocols. When activated, they'll broadcast historical records to every Alliance world simultaneously. The complete, unedited history of Earth's betrayal and the systematic manipulation of other species. You'll create chaos, Izara warned. The Alliance isn't a monolith. Most citizens, most leaders even, have no knowledge of these actions. We know, Marcus acknowledged. That's why the broadcasts include a direct address from our Unity Council, making it clear we don't hold the current generation responsible for their ancestors' crimes. We don't seek retribution. We seek recognition, the dismantling of the structures that enabled these abuses, and a place at the table as equals. A tactical officer approached with urgent news. Captain, long-range sensors detect multiple Alliance battle groups entering the sector. Estimated arrival in 4 hours. Council transmission is ready for your final approval. Marcus nodded thoughtfully, then turned to Izara. Commander Venn, we stand at a crossroads. When those battle groups arrive, they'll find either the opening stages of a war nobody truly wants, or an opportunity for a new beginning. Much depends on what they hear from their own officers when they arrive. Izara understood the implicit question. You want me to corroborate your account, to stand against my own Alliance? No, Marcus replied firmly. We want you to stand for the principles the Alliance claims to uphold. Justice, truth, the right of all sentient beings to determine their own path. Those aren't human values or Alliance values. They're universal. 4 hours later, as the Alliance battle fleet emerged from hyperspace near the boundary of Sector 47 Alpha, they encountered an unexpected sight. The human vessels had formed a precise formation, not a defensive or aggressive posture, but a ceremonial arrangement reminiscent of an honor guard. At the center of this formation floated the Horizon's Eye, flanked by the Earth flagship Prometheus. Admiral Filara's voice came through on the command channel, tense with concern. Commander Venn, report status immediately. Izara stood on the bridge of her vessel, Tayan Chen beside her as diplomatic witness, and made the most important transmission of her career. Admiral Thelara, I am transmitting a complete record of events in this sector, including evidence of unauthorized military action by the Sentinel Division and historical documentation of systematic interference with sovereign species development. I formally request an emergency session of the full Alliance Council with Earth representatives present. She paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. The humans could have responded to aggression with overwhelming force. Instead, they chose restraint. They seek recognition, justice, and partnership, not vengeance for past wrongs. I stand as witness to both their capabilities and their intentions. For several tense moments, no response came. The battle fleet maintained position, weapon systems active but not targeting. Finally, Admiral Thelara's reply arrived, not just as audio, but as a full visual transmission visible to both fleets. The Admiral's expression was grave, her secondary hands clasped tightly together in a gesture of extreme stress. Commander Venn, I have reviewed your preliminary data transmission. The Council must evaluate the complete evidence, but initial verification confirms elements of the human claims. She turned slightly, addressing someone off-screen. Stand down all weapons systems. This is a diplomatic situation, not a military one. Turning back to the main transmission, she continued. To the representatives of Earth, the Alliance formally acknowledges your communication and accepts your request for Council representation. A neutral meeting ground will be established for preliminary discussions. Captain Marcus Chen joined Izara in the transmission frame. Admiral Thelara, Earth accepts these terms in good faith. As a gesture of our peaceful intentions, we will withdraw our vessels to the boundaries established in the original isolation accord, maintaining only this diplomatic delegation in shared space. As the transmission ended, Izara felt the weight of history pressing around her. In the span of a single day, everything she thought she knew about the galaxy had been upended. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, something hopeful had emerged. A chance to build something better than what came before. What happens now? She asked Chen quietly as they watched the human fleet begin its precisely choreographed withdrawal. Now comes the hard part, he replied with a slight smile. Centuries of separation won't be bridged in a day. There will be resistance, denial, attempts to discredit the evidence. Some on both sides will prefer conflict to reconciliation. But you believe it's possible. True cooperation between humanity and the Alliance. Chen's expression grew thoughtful. We've had 300 years to study our own history, Commander. Do you know what we discovered? Every great leap forward in human development came not through isolation, but through the meeting of different minds, different cultures, different ways of seeing the universe. We believe the same is true on a galactic scale. He gestured toward the viewports, where Alliance and human ships now hung in peaceful proximity. Today, the galaxy trembled, not from destruction, but from possibility. That's a foundation we can build upon. 2 weeks later, as the Earth delegation prepared to depart for the historic Council Summit on neutral Proxima Station, Izara received a private communication from Admiral Thelara. Commander Venn, the Admiral began, her typically formal demeanor softened by evident fatigue. The preliminary Council investigation has confirmed systematic manipulation by elements within our leadership dating back centuries. The Sentinel Division has been officially disbanded, though many of its members remain at large. She paused, and Izara could see the struggle playing across her features. I was wrong about many things, Commander. Perhaps most significantly, I was wrong about humanity. The restraint they showed in the face of provocation speaks to a maturity our own leadership failed to demonstrate. What happens next, Admiral? The Council has authorized the creation of a new diplomatic corps specifically tasked with rebuilding relations with Earth. Given your unique experience, I am offering you command of this initiative. Izara considered the offer carefully. The path ahead would be challenging, navigating centuries of mistrust, integrating a technologically advanced humanity into galactic affairs, identifying and neutralizing those who would prefer the old order. Yet the alternative, allowing fear to once again drive these two great civilizations apart, was unthinkable. "I accept, Admiral," she replied, "on one condition. The initiative must include equal representation from Earth and the Alliance, working together as genuine partners." The Admiral's expression relaxed into something approaching a smile. "I anticipated your condition, Commander. Captain Marcus Chen has already agreed to serve as Earth's counterpart to your position, pending final approval from their Unity Council." As the transmission